everyone. Welcome or welcome back to African Hosa ASMR. In today's video, I will be doing a virtual demonstration of what a typical day looks like in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa, which also happens to be one of the poorest provinces in the country. The first thing I'm about to do is go to the river with you to fetch some water. All I need from you is to just sit back, enjoy the views, relax, and hopefully you will enjoy watching today's video. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, the first thing you normally do is go to the river to fetch some water. It's actually winter right now, and I'm on my way to go fetch water from the river. The river is usually about 30 minutes to sometimes an hour away from the residential areas. And as you can see here, the houses are built on steep slopes, and you have to be extra careful when walking up and down after fetching water. Okay, we've been walking for over 30 minutes now. Let me just start running because I need to make coffee. Finally, we made our way to the river, and here it is. Uyawubona umlambo, sesifikile ngoku kuwo. The river is drying up because it's winter, so it usually dries up, but you'd still see some water, but it usually starts drying up around winter time, and sometimes the soil starts to build up. Let's go fetch water. Usually people come here to dig bigger holes in order to help capture the water. Now this is where the river is at. Let's tap the tap. Into kamanzi ke lena, into khelela. ndigqibile ukukhelela mandivale ngesiciko. The purple thing I was using to carry the water is called into yokukhelela. Kodwa xa ndicinga ingathi nalo elinye igama xa ndilibele, kwangoku masibe sisithi into yokukhelela. The lid is called isiciko. Everybody has to have into yokukhelela. As you can see, everybody here, and you have to be extra careful not to disturb the clay at the bottom of the water. And if you disturb the clay, that is called ukudunga amanzi. Nobody likes that because you have to wait up until the clay settles again. Nobody wants that, so you have to be extra careful so that you don't collect dirty water. And after that, you have to seal it with isiciko. The lid is called isiciko so that you don't spill it if you're walking fast. But others very steady and they don't need to cover it with isiciko. And sometimes people don't even use their hands when carrying the water on top of their head. They just walk anyhow, and the act of doing that is called ukuncekelela. And then the bucket iphele. Ndincekelele iphele. I'm just holding the bucket on top of my head steadily without touching it. Ukuncekelela. Okay, now that I'm done fetching water, I need to make my way home to cook breakfast, to cook porridge. Okay, this is firewood that is usually used for preparing fire outside where people normally cook. And over here, lo msebenzi idlula kuye ndifika bapheka ntoni, bapheka umqombothi. Kodwa ke masibe siqhatha apha sisithi bapheka ntoni, isidudu. As you can see over here, I'm cooking isidudu. And the act of making sure that the firewood keeps going and it still has fire is called ukukhwezela. Blowing into the fire to ensure that it still continues is called ukukhwezela. And the pot that you usually use is a pot like this. You can see the pot, right? And this pot is called unqawu. And sometimes people just put the pot down with its three like long legs, but to make the fire not to have too much smoke. What do you call that smoke? The smoke, to use something called uqada. Mandizamise umqombothi. Kodwa ke okwangoku zobe ndisithi ndizamisa isidudu. Hayi ke sana, bona ndithanda izinto ndihamba ngoku ndizamelana ne-content. Nangondicela kulo mama walo mzi uthini apha komntwandini wase wandihlekisa. Ndithi hayi ndifuna ukudividiyela abantu abafuna ukubona uba kuphilwa njani emakhaya. Kandihleka sana. Ukuzamisa And then the long stick that you use for stirring is called ipini. And then on the other side there is a smaller unqao, and we need to wash it to ensure that we can be able to cook dinner later tonight. So now I'm taking it. We were cooking umngqusho yesterday, samp and beans, and now it needs to be washed. We're gonna wash it and collect new firewood for cooking umngqusho. Now on my way to collect firewood for cooking umngqusho. Umngqusho is samp and beans. It is very difficult. Not very difficult, very long. It takes a very long time to actually cook umngqusho. So you need as much firewood as you possibly can. So I need to just go and collect extra firewood to make sure that we have enough firewood to cook umngqusho, samp and beans. Now ndiyahamba ke sanqa ndiyokha inkuni ehlathini. You collect your firewood from the forest, and you need to make sure that it's dry firewood or sticks from the forest, sticks that have fallen down, or like from branches that are dry, to ensure that new branches grow. So that's normally what you do. And the process or the act of fetching firewood from the forest is called ukutheza. Ndisahamba ke ngoku ndiyotheza ehlathini. I'm on my way to go collect firewood from the forest. See those many trees there in front of me right now? That's where the forest is. That's where we will be collecting our firewood from, actually. Ihlathi, a forest. Ehlathini, in the forest. Ndiyotheza ehlathini inkuni. Inkuni are the logs that you collect. You know, the sticks that you collect to use for making firewood. Oh, sorry, for making fire. It's firewood, basically. Zinkuni, firewood, inkuni. Masiqhubekeke. You have to be extra careful when walking around, because once again, the slope is very steep and the road is slippery. So you have to make sure that you're careful and you don't fall as you are walking. And now we're making our way to the forest. Siyodeza inkuni ehlathini. Hayi ke sanqa, masiqhubekeke sihamba wena. Suba naxhala, ndizame i-content apho unenzela. Kuba kudala nisithi nifuna ku-DVD ezangaphandle. Hayi ke nantsi ke DVD ebeniyifuna. Masiqhubekeke sihambe siyongena ehlathini. Ndiyacinga apha engqondweni uba yeyi, ndiyiqhubekeke ndiyenza le nto. Ndiyongena ehlathini ndinenzele le content okanye ithini into, ndihlale apha. As I was walking, I've spotted dry grass, and I thought to myself, is this the grass that is normally used for making mats? Ndazibuza uba yile ngca le yokwenza amakhuko. Xa ndiyijongisisa, when I took a closer look at it, it was actually not. Akuyiyo ingca yokwenza amakhuko. Ndahlala wethu, bendizihambela qanquma ndokwenza ntoni ngondihambayo, khona into endifuna ukuyenza, ndingaqondakali wethu yabo, ndidlulise ixesha ngasoloko ndihamba okokokoko. And then I arrived at the forest and collected dry sticks for firewood and put it in one place. The act of putting it into one place is called ukubekelela. Ukubekelela. But before you put it in one place, you have to make sure that you collect something called ibande. Ibande. And then you lay it on top of ibande so that you can use ibande to tie everything together. Let me show you ibande if I can find one, but let me just collect firewood as much as I can, and then I need to get ibande. So when people are collecting firewood, if they have a lot of firewood, it can slip over their hands, and you don't want that to happen. And you want to put it over your head, but you don't want to use fiber, you don't want to use clothing. So this is what you normally use. This is called ibande. This is what we call ibande. So you have to look for ibande and put it down, and now start sorting out your firewood through an act called ukubekelela. And nali bande esiza kulisebenzisa. This is the bande we're gonna be using. I don't know what a bande is called in English, but I'm pretty sure you guys know what it is. Kind of looks like the stem, but it is too flexible and it doesn't break. And what we call it, a bande. It's usually wrapped around the stem, and I think it's a specific type of plant, but we call it a bande. A bande, you can use it as it is. Sometimes it dries up, but it's still like flexible even when it's dried up, and you can tie things with it. And you can even make ribbons without breaking it, which is super interesting. Ngoku ke mandibekelele inyanda yam. After you have tied everything up into like one composite firewood bag, if I may call it that way, that is what we call inyanda. Inyanda. Ngoku ndibekelela inyanda yam, ndizoyibophelela ngebande. Ndibekelela inyanda yam, ndizoyibophelela ngebande. Now I'm just gathering my firewood in one place, and I'm laying it on top of ibande. And then I'm gonna use ibande to tie up the firewood all together, so that when I put it on top of my head, the sticks don't fall, on the ground, or just pasala. Things don't just I don't know what to call that. I don't know what you call that. So now ndiyabekelela ke ngoku. What I'm doing right now is called ukubekelela. Ndibekelela inyanda. I'm just gathering everything in one place and tying it up using ibande. You don't usually tie it up as you're tying shoes, because it can easily slip off. You need to make sure you twist them in opposite directions, and then try to rope it around all the other ones to ensure that everything is tight and the firewood is intact, and you don't make anything slip over. And this is me ensuring that everything is together. And after you have ibande tying everything together, the end product, which is what I'm putting on my head, is what we call inyanda. Inyanda. Ndibekelele inyanda, ndayibophelela ngebande, ndayithwala entloko, ndihamba ke ngoku. Ndingake ndilinge ndihleke kule nto ndiyenzayo. Ndinxiba I'm content apha. Ndingake ndilinge ndihleke uba yintoni na loo nto uyenza apha. Yintoni la uthi ayenza apha. Now this is the firewood, the extra firewood we're going to be using to cook dinner, samp and beans. Ziinkuni ke esizawuzisebenzisa ezi xa sipheka isopholo yethu yanamhlanje izoba ngumngqusho. Senzela uba umlilo wethu angacimi phakathi. Asifuni umlilo uzocika, sifuna uqhubekeke side sipheka umngqusho wethu avuthwe, singaphelelwanga ziinkuni aqine endleleni. There are so many thorns along the way, so it is always advisable that you wear pants when you're collecting firewood so that you don't scratch your legs, because it's very easy to scratch your legs, or at least wear something longer so that the thorns can catch it instead of, scraping your skin. As you can see here, as I'm struggling for my life. Ndizawubona idividi le nto yenu banibone bandithanda izinto gqitha kokwenu. Hayi ke khona akho ngxaki, iyaqinga nale nyanda ndizama uyisebenzisa uyenza apha icinga kolu cingo kuba ndikhathele ndikhathele le nto ndiyenzayo. Kodwa ke sathi sagqiba wethu masiphinde ke ngoku siyobeka inyanda. Now I've been walking back with inyanda on top of my head, and ndibabe ngesandla esinye uba andikazungcikelela mntana umntu. Hayi ke masihambeni kodwa akho ngxaki, masihambeni ayikho ingxaki. Yintoni enye ndizawuyenza? Andiqinisekanga uba ndithethe ndithini. It's midday right now and everything is in order. The firewood is being collected. The pot mungau is already ready for umngqusho, and it is actually time to go home. And ikhona laa nto abantu badla ngoyibeka entloko phambi bathwale. Yintoni akabele? Phambi umntu athwale inyanda uyayibeka entloko, usonge impahla abeke laa nto entloko. Ndilibele igama layo, yenzela uba ungahlatywa ziinkuni. Sometimes when you're collecting firewood, you would put a separate cloth on top of your head before you place firewood, so that if it has thorns or any sharp places, it doesn't poke your head. I forgot the Xhosa name for that thing. Yintoni akabele? Xa ndiyilibele nje ndisacaphuke ndiyilibele ndixelele. Yintoni negama layo? Alizi kwalona entloko ndinixelele. Hayi ke kodwa akho ngxaki, masiqhubekeke sihamba. Bandazi uba ndizathetha ndithini, and eli gama alide lifike engqondweni yam uba ndifuna ulisebenzisa. Kodwa ke alifiki engqondweni lam eli gama ndifuna ulisebenzisa. Bendicinga ukuthi ndizalibhala nalapha ezantsi ndiqale ndibuze emntwini ekhaya uba yintoni igama layo laa nto kabele. Ndonqena nokufaka loo magama aphatha le nto ndiyithethayo. Ndifuna nje ukuva ndimake i-DVD yodwa kuba ndayenza i-DVD ehamba namagama. Nayiqonda loo nto. Yintoni nakabele? Hayi noba ndonixelela nina niyaziyo apha ezantsi laa nto uyibekayo phambi uthwala inyanda entloko. Sithwele ke ngoku inyanda safika endlini, and now we are back from collecting the firewood, and we need to put it into a place where you normally put the rest of the firewood. And sometimes people normally cover their firewood if there's an expected rain soon, they cover it so that when they cook the following day, the wood is not wet. And sometimes, shh, what is that? What is that? Shh, 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 shh. And sometimes people have a room or a place with a, it's just shelter prepared to ensure that it doesn't catch water, it doesn't catch rain. And you just gather the firewood in one place, and the firewood that is gathered in one place has its own name. It is given its own name, which is called iko. Just firewood, where there's a lot of firewood, a place with a lot of firewood. And ndiyokuphela ngokwezinkuni ekwikoqo. So I'm mixing this firewood with the other firewood in what is referred to as ikoqo. Typically, when a lady is about to get married, they are usually asked to prepare their own separate ikoqo. And as you can see back there in this yard behind the chickens, you can see firewood over there, and that is what we call ikoqo. And if you're about to become a wife, you have to collect as many firewood as you can by yourself. I'm not sure if you have to ask a couple of your friends as well. I can't remember. And then you collect ikoqo and you put ikoqo in your in-laws' house so that they can use it for cooking in the next month or so when you're still like a new wife. Yokutheza ikoqo, that's what they usually call it. Shh, what is that noise? What is that noise? Shh, I don't know what it is. And these are chickens as well. A lot of families, they keep their own chickens at home and whatnot. And as you can see, there's a lady sitting there wearing a blue t-shirt. And the unfortunate part is that South Africa unemployment rate is high. Like, it's extremely high, and there are a lot of people who just wake up and sit and watch the sun rise and the sun set because they don't have any jobs. They're sitting back home with their qualifications, and it's really, really sad because this is the youth, young people with great potential, but unfortunately the political system is way too corrupt, and the kids are sitting at home doing nothing. Very disappointed in our government, honestly. ANC, shame. Hi, another hi Gekot, masiqhubeke again bethu. Siyahamba. Let me just keep walking and then off to the next activity. So, what is this? There are a lot of thorny plants, as you can see. A lot of thorny plants. So you have to be extra careful not to touch just about any and everything. And right about now, I'm off to the spaza shop. A spaza shop is what we call a convenient store in South Africa. It's a convenient store that's in a village or esilalini okanye elokishini yonke loo nto, and it usually sells things that are of convenience, because as you can see here, we have people living in a village. So if they run out of sugar, they can't just go to town to just buy sugar. And if they need bread, they can't just go to town to buy just one loaf of bread, etc., because it's way inconvenient for them to do that. So there are spaza shops that sell convenient things like bread, sugar, salt, milk, sweets, all those things that you normally find in a convenient store. And this is for convenience to villagers because they can't afford to go to town all the time to buy such things. And they usually shop in what is called a spaza shop. A spaza shop usually taxes the villagers. So what you'd normally buy in town is now sold at a higher price because you're no longer going to town to actually get that. But at the same time, if you were to compare the amount of money that you would have spent going to town and coming back relative to how much you'd spend at a spaza shop, you'd see that it's better for you to just pay extra at a spaza shop than spending that amount of money to go to town. But the prices are higher, and right about now in South Africa there is this thing going on with spaza shops selling foods and items that are expired or not in good conditions, for human consumptions. And there are people who have been unalived from purchasing from a spaza shop, but certain spaza shops, not all of them, there haven't been any incidences reported on this one, and that is the spaza shop, the place with the red center and the blue on the sides. That is a spaza shop. Let's take a closer look at the spaza shop. And this is a person who's buying at a spaza shop. Let me just say hi. I want to have a DVD. The spaza shop so that you guys can see. So you just put money over there and then you ask for whatever it is and then they give you change and whatnot. And some spaza shops you can swipe, but that's not safe. Now, I have cash with me. This is 50 rands. 50 rands. 50 rands. And I've crossed the road for you so that you can have a clear visual demonstration of what the spaza shop actually looks like. Now, let's cross the road to get to the spaza shop. And there are cars, including this taxi, which usually stops here on the main road to catch passengers going to town. I know you're like, hi Bossy V, why are you calling that a taxi? That's a minibus. That's exactly what we call public transport in South Africa, a taxi. And that is our form of a taxi, not a cab, a taxi. That's what we call a taxi. And now I'm using the 50 rands to buy bread, and bread usually costs 16 rand for brown bread. I'm gonna show you guys what brown bread looks like and then show you my change as well. The bread is already sliced for you, and this is what it looks like. It's a loaf of bread, and let me just wait for the change. And here's my change: 20 rands, 10 rands, and a couple of coins. That is for brown bread. There's someone buying something else as well. Now that I'm done, I wanted to show you this taxi. This is the most convenient form of transport. This is the main road, and now we got our bread for when we want to make coffee and whatnot. People usually eat bread and butter and drink coffee, just on a normal day. That's what they normally do. It's a bit windy, and there are a couple of kids playing, raining or not. In South Africa, we still do have kids playing outside in the village. No screen time, no watching TVs or playing with phones, just going outside, kick some ball or play tennis or any kind of or form of sports as well. And once they turn into youth, they usually just and graduates, they usually just sit there around with all hope lost, nothing going on in life, just disappointed at how the government has lied to them, thinking that once you get a degree you're set for life, and now they're sitting at home being unemployed, nothing really going on for themselves. And then there's an issue of drugs. People, just resort to drugs and violence because they're just frustrated at how life turned out. Anyway, let's not focus on that. This is an ASMR video for you to relax. I'm sorry. Okay, there are kids playing outside, keeping fit and healthy. That is super important. Very, very, very important. Asenze ndonenye. And then I then cleaned my father's grave. I washed it and then, make sure that it was clean. Cleaner ingcwaba likatatam. Qinisekile uba licocekile, yonke into ihamba kakuhle. Ndalihlamba, emveni koko ndalisula, emveni koko ndankcenkceshela izityalo. Then after that, I watered the plants. This is spinach. And then over here we have beetroot, spinach and beetroot. And over here we have cabbage. Cabbage. After that, I was super exhausted. Got in, took a bath. I didn't even want to take a shower. I wanted to take a bath because of how exhausted I was. Vulela amanzi uhlambe. Vulela amanzi uhlambe. Emanzi lokweya. Emanzi lokweya. After taking a shower, I got ready to go to town. Emveni kokuba ndigqibile ukuhlamba ke ndahamba ndaya edolophini. Let me tell you something about my house. The only person who buys bubble bath is me. Whenever I'm not around, they do not bother. They just use soap and that's it. Anyway, believe it or not, this is what town looks like. This is what a typical South African town looks like in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. This is the town center. Those are the shops, those are the buildings, those are the banks. And then there are a couple of people, selling items outside as well. And the taxis are down there at the taxi rank, but I can't show you because I don't want my phone to be snatched. And then after that, took a taxi back home, and this is the taxi that got stuck in the middle of the road, in the middle of nowhere. The wheel punched the tire, not the wheel, the tire punched. So the driver is trying to fix out the tire, and everybody was told to get out and take all their groceries out. And this is us just waiting for it to get fixed. By the time it was fixed, it was super cold. It was misty everywhere. This is the mist. And now we are headed home. Sisaqhubekeka sizama kanjalo kube kugcwele inkungu nemvula ifuna kunetha. kwade kwanetha. And then after that, I got home to look at the beautiful, beautiful sunset. One thing I love about the Eastern Cape is just the beauty of the nature. Never mind the poverty. I mean, you should mind it because it's there. But when taking the poverty aside, the Eastern Cape is super beautiful and very rich in terms of nature, and it has the most beautiful, beautiful sunsets you will ever find. And I always make it a point to find beauty in the little things. The little things like looking at sunset. It had just finished raining, as you can see. There's a little bit of sunset. It's just about to start. The sun is about to go down. And then when the sun has gone down and now you see the actual sunset, and this is what it looks like. Now the sun has gone down, and I mean it's almost nighttime. It's almost nighttime in winter because it's now dark because it's winter, and this is what it looks like at night. The most beautiful sunsets you can possibly find. And these are the types of chickens we have. Woke up the following day, uvusile, and repeat. And that is what a typical day in my life looks like in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. Before I go, disclaimer: if you pay attention to detail, you might have noticed that the home that I came out of when collecting the water from the river is totally different from the one where I was cooking breakfast, which is also very much different from the one where I was collecting firewood and watering the plants. With all that being said, I would like to send a big thank you to all the different families that opened up their homes for me to film this typical day in my life in the Eastern Cape visual demonstration vlog for you guys. Ndiyabulela kakhulu. Indeed, umntu ngumntu ngabantu. Uba wena ubukela qoma ngathi ndiyaqaphela, ndayazi uba ngathi kuphi apha. Thula uthi cwaka, sixelele abanye khawukuthi uthi cwaka. Bukele qha wena uphele, ungabubuzwa kuphi apha ule thula uthi cwaka ubukele bugqibile va. Nkosi kakhulu. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Don't dox anybody, don't say anything, don't give up the location. Good night.